For years, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt were Hollywood's golden couple, the picture-perfect romance everyone dreamed about. Their love story seemed straight out of a movie. Two beautiful stars at the height of fame, walking red carpets hand in hand, smiling like nothing could ever break them apart. To the world, they weren't just a couple, they were the couple. But behind the flashes of cameras and magazine covers was a truth that Jennifer Aniston never spoke about. Until now. At 56, after decades of silence, heartbreak, and healing, Jennifer is finally ready to tell the real story. Not the gossip, not the rumors, but the truth about what her marriage to Brad Pitt really was, and why it fell apart in ways the world could never imagine. It wasn't just another Hollywood breakup. It was a love story built under the blinding lights of fame, where privacy was impossible, pressure was constant, and love had to compete with ambition, temptation, and the cruel expectations of a watching world. For years, she carried the weight of public judgment, the tabloids that painted her as the victim, the whispers about Angelina Jolie, the endless questions she never wanted to answer. But now, Jennifer is setting the record straight, revealing what really went wrong, and how she finally found peace in the wreckage of her most painful chapter. Because sometimes, even the world's most beautiful love stories can have the darkest endings. In the late 1990s, Hollywood was obsessed with the idea of the perfect couple. And for a few shining years, that couple was Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, two of the biggest stars on the planet, both beautiful, charming, and seemingly destined for each other. When they appeared together, it felt like watching a modern-day prince and princess, flawless, untouchable, and deeply in love. Their story began in 1998, when both were at the height of their fame. Jennifer was America's sweetheart, starring in Friends, the most popular show on television. Brad, meanwhile, was one of Hollywood's most desired leading men, coming off blockbusters like Seven and Meet Joe Black. Their worlds collided when mutual friends set them up on a quiet dinner date. And according to Jennifer, it was instant. The chemistry was undeniable. Within months, the pair became inseparable. The paparazzi followed them everywhere, capturing every smile, every touch, every moment of affection. To the outside world, it looked like a fairy tale romance. Two people who had found love in a place where love rarely lasts. By 2000, the fairy tale reached its peak. Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt's Malibu wedding was one of the most lavish events Hollywood had ever seen. Over 200 guests, fireworks lighting up the California sky, music, laughter, and joy. It was a night that defined an era. Every magazine in the world featured them. Fans believed it was forever. Jennifer once described those years as magical. She and Brad weren't just partners, they were best friends. They supported each other's careers, laughed constantly, and tried to keep their marriage grounded despite the chaos of fame. They bought a home together in Beverly Hills, hosted dinner parties for close friends, and even talked openly about starting a family someday. But even in those golden days, the cracks were forming. Hollywood doesn't allow love to breathe. The constant cameras, the endless rumors, the pressure to be perfect, it all takes its toll. And for Jennifer and Brad, their fame became both their blessing and their curse. Jennifer was balancing the demanding schedule of Friends, while Brad was taking on intense film roles that required him to disappear emotionally and physically for months at a time. They were both at the top of their careers, but the higher they climbed, the less time they had for each other. Still, Jennifer kept believing in the dream. She often said Brad made her feel safe, that he was her calm in the chaos. And for a while he was. They appeared at award shows glowing with affection, finishing each other's sentences, smiling like nothing could touch them. Then came 2004, the year that changed everything. Brad signed on to film Mr. and Mrs. Smith opposite Angelina Jolie, and what began as a professional collaboration quickly spiraled into something far more complicated. The media sensed it immediately. The stolen glances, the chemistry on set, the whispers of something more. Jennifer tried to ignore it at first, trusting her husband, trusting their bond, but soon, The fairy tale began to crumble. The woman who had once been America's sweetheart was now living through her most painful nightmare, and the whole world was watching. In her own words, Jennifer later said, "You can't hold on to a dream when the other person's already waking up." It was the end of the golden age of Hollywood love, and the beginning of Jennifer Aniston's heartbreak. By 2004, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt had become more than just Hollywood's favorite couple. They were a symbol of perfect love. But behind the flawless red carpet smiles and glowing interviews, their marriage was quietly cracking under the weight of fame, distance, and silent pain. That year, Brad began filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a high-budget action film that would unexpectedly change all three of their lives forever. His co-star was Angelina Jolie, one of Hollywood's most magnetic and controversial actresses. What started as a film about a married couple living double lives quickly blurred into something real. The on-set chemistry between Brad and Angelina was undeniable. Crew members noticed it, tabloids ran wild with it, and Jennifer, miles away filming the final season of Friends, began feeling the chill of something shifting. At first, she brushed off the rumors. In interviews, she defended Brad, calling the gossip silly and hurtful, but soon the whispers grew louder. Photos surfaced of Brad and Angelina laughing between takes, sharing long glances, and spending time together off-set. Hollywood's golden marriage was suddenly under siege, and Jennifer could no longer ignore what the world was already starting to believe. Behind closed doors, the conversations between her and Brad became strained. He seemed distant, thoughtful, restless, searching for something he couldn't name. Jennifer sensed it but didn't want to believe it. She still hoped the man she loved would come back to her fully. Then came the interview that shattered everything. In a 2005 magazine feature, Angelina Jolie spoke candidly about her bond with Brad. She said, "I think we found something real during filming." Though she claimed they hadn't crossed any lines, her words confirmed what Jennifer had feared most. Her marriage was over, even if it hadn't officially ended yet. That same year, Jennifer and Brad announced their separation in a joint statement saying, "We remain best friends who love and admire each other deeply." But those who knew Jennifer say she was heartbroken, blindsided by how fast everything unraveled. In the months that followed, her life became a spectacle. Tabloids painted her as the woman left behind, the heartbroken ex-wife watching her husband start a new life with another woman. The photos of Brad and Angelina traveling together, adopting children, and appearing inseparable played like cruel reminders. Jennifer tried to stay silent. She focused on work, pouring her pain into new film roles. But every interview circled back to one question: how do you feel about Brad and Angelina? In one emotional moment, she finally said what millions of fans were already feeling. "It was a lot to handle," she admitted. "I felt like my heart was ripped out." The breakup wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a public humiliation. Every detail was analyzed, every expression dissected. She became a headline, a meme, a symbol of heartbreak. But behind the media frenzy was a woman quietly fighting to hold her dignity together. Friends later revealed that Jennifer didn't hate Angelina or even Brad. She pitied them. She believed that real love didn't destroy, it healed. But by the time Brad realized what he'd lost, the damage was already done. Jennifer would go on to say in an interview years later, "I don't regret loving him. I just regret how much of myself I gave away, trying to make it work." That one sentence captured the truth she carried in silence for years. Her fairy tale hadn't just ended. It had exploded in front of the entire world. But even as she grieved, Jennifer refused to let that heartbreak define her. Because what came next wasn't just recovery, it was rebirth. When Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt officially divorced in 2005, the world didn't just react, it obsessed. Every magazine cover, every talk show, every gossip blog treated their breakup like a national tragedy. Fans picked sides. Team Jen versus Team Angelina. And though Jennifer wanted to move forward, she couldn't escape the shadow of her own heartbreak. Behind the headlines, she was quietly trying to heal. The home she once shared with Brad felt empty, a constant reminder of what she'd lost. Friends later said she spent long nights crying, rewatching old movies, and journaling to make sense of the pain. She was still the same Jennifer, funny, grounded, and kind. But something inside her had changed. Hollywood, however, wouldn't let her grieve in peace. Every public appearance was scrutinized. If she smiled, tabloids called her fake. If she looked sad, they said she was still not over Brad. It was an emotional prison, and Jennifer's every move became public property. But Jennifer refused to play the victim. Instead of hiding, she channeled her pain into purpose. She began focusing on her career again, taking on roles that reflected her emotional strength and independence. In films like The Breakup and Marley and Me, audiences saw a new side of her, not just the sitcom star they adored, but a woman who had lived through heartbreak and come out stronger. In interviews, she handled questions about Brad and Angelina with grace. She never lashed out, never spoke with bitterness. In one candid moment, she said, "Nobody cheated. It just ended." That honesty, and the calm way she carried herself, made millions of people admire her even more. Yet privately, Jennifer was still searching for peace. She longed for love again, but was cautious. In Hollywood, trust is a fragile thing, and she'd learned that fame can twist even the most genuine relationships into something unrecognizable. For years, rumors swirled about possible romances: Vince Vaughn, John Mayer, Justin Theroux. But Jennifer's heart seemed guarded. Friends said she was afraid of falling into the same trap again, loving too deeply, too fast, and losing herself in the process. Still, she grew. Therapy, meditation, and close friendships became her lifelines. Her inner circle, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, and a few trusted friends, stood by her side through every storm. They reminded her that she was more than a broken heart, more than a tabloid headline. Slowly, the world's perception began to change. Jennifer wasn't just Brad Pitt's ex-wife anymore. She was a symbol of strength, self-worth, and resilience. But there were still moments when old wounds reopened. In 2016, when Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's relationship fell apart, the internet exploded with reactions, memes, jokes, and messages declaring justice for Jen. But Jennifer didn't celebrate. When asked about it, she responded simply, "I genuinely wish them peace." Everyone goes through difficult times. That response said everything. Jennifer had grown past the pain. She'd learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the burden of hate. Her story wasn't just about loss. It was about transformation. By the time she reunited with Brad briefly at the 2020 SAG Awards, the world collectively held its breath. The photos of them laughing backstage went viral, sparking hope for reconciliation. But those close to Jennifer said she wasn't looking back. She had made peace with the past. For Jennifer, closure didn't come from Brad's apologies or Hollywood headlines. It came from accepting that sometimes love isn't meant to last, and that's okay. In her own words, "I've learned that not all stories have a happy ending, but that doesn't mean they weren't beautiful." And with that, Jennifer Aniston, the woman who once defined heartbreak, became the definition of strength. For years, Jennifer Aniston avoided talking deeply about her marriage to Brad Pitt. She moved through the pain with quiet dignity, refusing to let gossip dictate her story. But now, at 56, Jennifer finally decided it was time to tell the truth. Not the tabloid version, but her own. In a candid interview that took the world by surprise, Jennifer opened up about her past, her healing, and what she truly felt during those heartbreaking years. Her voice, calm yet reflective, revealed a woman who had made peace with everything that once tore her apart. "I spent a lot of time wondering what I did wrong," she confessed. "But eventually I realized it wasn't about me not being enough. It was about two people growing in different directions." Those words hit millions of fans deeply. For decades, the public had turned her love story into a Hollywood myth, but Jennifer's version was simple and human. She wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't heartbroken. She was free. She admitted that the hardest part wasn't losing Brad, it was losing herself in the process. "When you love someone so much, you start to forget your own boundaries," she said. "I thought love meant giving everything, but now I know love also means protecting yourself." Jennifer revealed that therapy and solitude taught her to reconnect with the person she was before fame, the girl from Sherman Oaks with big dreams, a sense of humor, and a kind heart. She learned to find joy in small things again: morning coffee, yoga, friends, laughter, and silence. When asked if she still loved Brad, Jennifer smiled softly. "I'll always have love for him. He was a huge part of my life. But love doesn't always mean staying together. Sometimes it means letting go." That honesty stunned everyone. In a world where bitterness often overshadows grace, Jennifer chose peace. She explained that forgiving Brad wasn't about excusing the past. It was about releasing herself from it. "I carried that sadness for too long," she said. "It became a story I didn't want to keep telling." Now she's focused on living her truth, not the one Hollywood writes for her. She's learned that marriage, fame, and heartbreak don't define her. What defines her is resilience. In recent years, Jennifer has become a quiet advocate for emotional healing and self-acceptance. She's spoken openly about therapy, meditation, and learning to say no. She's also found empowerment in aging gracefully, calling her 50s the most freeing decade of my life. "When you stop chasing what you've lost," she said, "you finally make room for what's meant for you." Her words resonated deeply with fans who have followed her journey for decades. Many saw themselves in her story: the pain of a broken heart, the struggle to move on, and the courage to rebuild. Jennifer's life today is calm and intentional. She spends time with close friends, works on meaningful projects, and surrounds herself with positivity. She laughs more, worries less, and no longer feels defined by the man she once loved. She recently told an interviewer, "People always ask if I regret anything. I don't. Every heartbreak taught me something I needed to know. If it hadn't happened the way it did, I wouldn't be who I am today. And that's the real truth." The one Jennifer Aniston finally admitted after all these years. The love she once thought was the end of her story was actually the beginning of her becoming. Her message to the world, and to anyone who's ever been broken, is simple but powerful. You can lose love, but never lose yourself. Because when you find peace inside, you've already won. Jennifer Aniston didn't just survive Hollywood's most famous heartbreak. She transformed it into her greatest strength. And in doing so, she reminded us all that sometimes the most beautiful endings come after the hardest goodbyes.